Welcome back, viewers. This is the continued part of the video segment we were making last time, which is XEN live migration. And we encountered certain problems in that video, so I broke off at that time and I searched and did some research and found out that there is a problem with not libvirtual but virtual manager, which comes with CentOS 5.4 and the proof I kind of showed it to you already. Let me show it to you again. I will just I'll start up the virtual manager in my Fedora, the the virtual manager which comes with my Fedora 11. I will show you that what is the version of this Fedora. This is 0.7. okay, so whereas I'll minimize this, whereas the virtual manager we have with this CentOS 5.4, even we have updated it, this one is 0.6.1 and it won't get updated beyond this version. Now coming back to my Fedora virtual manager, I'll show it to you that I will try to connect XEN hosts, both XEN hosts from here. I will even delete these connections and I would do file, add connection, and going to select XEN remote tunnel over SSH. I'm going to add XEN host 1.example.com, connect, and it asks for a KSSH ask password, which is for K wallet. I will cancel that. This one is asking that authenticity of host cannot be established. Are you sure? Yes, no. So I'll type in yes instead of the password here. Press OK. It asks again the wallet password. Cancel that unless you want to use wallet. And now it's asking for root at XEN host 1 password, which is Red Hat. So I press enter. OK. I can even select remember password. Press OK. And there you go. It got connected properly without a problem. Okay, so I'll add another the second XEN host here as well. File, add connection, XEN. Remember, this is my virtual manager GUI from my Fedora Linux machine, which I am using on my laptop. xenhost2.example.com. You can use IP, hostname, fully qualified domain name, whatever. Okay, xenhost2 connect. Okay, again wallet, cancel wallet. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, again wallet, cancel that. Root password, Red Hat, remember password, press OK, and this one is also got connected. Alright. Now I minimize this and I will try. This is XEN host 1, right? This is XEN host 1. So what I'll do is I will try to connect XEN host 2 from here. XEN remote tunnel over SSH. Type in XEN host 2.example.com and I'll show you, before I press enter, I'll show you command prompt and I'll show you that grep XEN. I don't need to grep, I'll just do cat etc hosts, and I have all the hosts defined here. XEN host 2 is definitely exists here with fully qualified domain name as well as nickname and the IP. So this should work, right? This should work. Press connect and it says that libvirtual is unable to connect to this interface. Whereas and it's also showing that libvirtual make sure or verify that libvirtual daemon has been started on XEN host 2. I'll just leave this screen as it is. I'll open the XEN host 2 console, this screen. I will open the terminal here. Okay, and I would do service ZenD status, just checking service ZenD and checking service lib virtual D. Both are running. Now I didn't need to check them in the first place. Why? Because let me pull up this window from my Fedora. Because I'm able to connect from yet another machine on the network to both of these hosts. So that excludes firewall, that excludes any Zen configuration files, any lib virtual configuration files, any restrictions. Nothing is there. Okay, none of them is a problem at the moment in this case. The problem is something else. I'll minimize this ZenHost2 GUI as well, or VNC window. Alright, we are back on ZenHost1 where we see this problem. This problem, before I further explain, let's copy this. Let's copy this, and I'll show you that, you know, if you do XM minus minus, is it virtual shell? Yeah, virtual shell minus minus connect this interface. Let me maximize this for you. I type this command, press enter. It asks for the password, Red Hat, and it connects. Okay. List. It shows me what machines are running. Maybe you think that this is the domain 0 running on ZenHost1. It's not. We connected to root at ZenHost2. Right, minimize this again. Now I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is this virtual manager itself, this virtual manager. This is the problem itself. What's happening is virtual manager tries to connect to ZenHost2. It first asks for the SSH signature, which virtual manager 0.6.1 is unable to recognize, and since it's unable to recognize it, it gives problem. Or even if the fingerprint exists, which I made sure, once you do simple SSH to ZenHost2 and it asks for the password, it doesn't ask for the fingerprint. That means the fingerprint is already there in the SSH database. I'll press Ctrl C here and I'll show you the SSH database here. .ssh known hosts. You see .100 is added, .102 is added, zenhost2.example.com is also added. So this second host, physical host, ZenHost, is added with both names. Its fingerprints exist. So that means that when this virtual manager goes and tries to connect to ZenHost2, it's presented with a password, and this stupid GUI doesn't recognize that the other machine is prompting for the password, and it just assumes that lib virtual D daemon is probably dead and it's not able to connect to this machine. Now I have kind of solved this problem with a workaround. Okay, remember that what I am explaining here for this error is for my current situation only. There might be cases when the rest of the things are correct, but lib virtual D might actually be stopped. So you have to check that in the first place. Since we have already checked that, we'll close this and we see that's not connected, and no matter how much time we try, we'll get the same error. Now what is the solution? The solution is that two Zen hosts, if we pull up our diagram, where is my diagram? Two Zen hosts, yes, this one. These two Zen hosts, this one and this one, they should kind of trust each other, right? So what I've done is I've removed the password thing altogether, or I will remove the password thing altogether. I will set up SSH equivalents to both of these nodes, to each other, so both of them can log on to each other without password, so lib virtual D doesn't get stuck. Okay, minimize this and let me show you how it's done. You do SSH keygen -t RSA and press enter on Xen host 1 as root. Create this key pair, yes, overwrite, because I already created it yesterday. Enter passphrase. Do not type passphrase at this moment, because then again it would be the same problem. It will ask for the passphrase. Okay, so this SSH ID is created. I go to my second machine and I do the same here. SSH keygen -type RSA. Enter, overwrite, yes, enter. Okay, so now both physical Xen hosts have the SSH keys private and public key pair generated. Now what I'm going to do is, let's go back to machine number 1. I am going to copy SSH copy ID -i root dot SSH ID RSA dot public to root at zenhost2 dot example dot com. Bus. That's all. Bus means that's it. That's an Urdu word, or even in Arabic. SSH copy ID minus this identity file. This should be your public ID file. Remember, don't send your private key. This is your public key. Send it to root at hostexample.com. You don't need to mention any paths here at the target, because SSH copy ID will take care of the paths itself. So you just press enter. It asks, you are presented with the password of the second machine. Type red hat, press enter, and it tells you that's added in .ssh authorized keys on the target. What you can do is now try logging into that machine. Okay, press enter. Great, it's logged in without password. Fine, exit that. Do the same procedure with the other machine. Here, SSH, oh come on, SSH dash copy ID -i slash root slash dot SSH dash its public key to, maximize this, to root at zenhost1 dot example.com. That's all. Press enter. It asks for the zenhost1's password. Type in red hat, and that's it. Its key has been sent to zenhost1. Now you try logging into zenhost1 now. SSH root at zenhost1.example.com, or zenhost1 in short. It logs in. If I type in like this, it still logs in. Great, so type exit. Fine. Now what's the status of the .ssh authorized keys file? I'll just show you very briefly, although it's not the scope of this tutorial or this video. You see this SSH RSA key is added for this host on Zenhost 2. The same has been done on this machine, Zenhost 1. cat.ssh authorized keys. This file would on Zenhost 1 would contain key of Zenhost 2 here. Okay, so now SSH equivalence has been set up. I would minimize both of these text windows from both machines. I would start Virtual Manager here as well. Okay, so this is Zenhost 2. I don't have any connection here. I will delete this right now because I want to show you that it will connect. Deletion is not necessary, but I'm just doing this for for your sake. File, add connection, for the sake of repetition. File, add connection, remote tunnel over SSH. And since this is Xen host 1, so you would connect to Xen host 2. It's up to you to use fully qualified name or not, or even IP. Press connect. It should connect instantly because the password is not a problem anymore. Great. There you see, it's connected without asking for any password. I can do the same on the other machine. I can connect, this is Xen host 2, so I can connect to Xen host 1 from here. Xen, connect this, Xen host 1, and connect, and it works. Great, lovely. Now you might be thinking that what exactly is wrong with Virtual Manager. Well, it's still Red Hat emerging technology, Virtual Manager. You can just put it aside and use the command line interface, virtual shell or XM commands, which I'll show you in the next videos. But since I wanted to keep these videos very simple, I started with the GUI, so all the concepts could be very easy to understand. Right, so now our objective was in the beginning of this video yesterday that we would create a virtual machine on one physical host, and its disk would be on the storage, central storage, and we would migrate it to the other machine, and it should get migrated, right? Yeah, that was the objective. So let's do that. Let's go to first Xen host number 1, and I can see its connection here. Means this, it's also connected to the second host. I'll not touch that at the moment, so I'll just kind of minimize that here in this table. I'm going to create a new virtual machine, simply VM1, and before I create that, I'm going to check if this Xen host 1 has storage connected to it. So I go to File, Edit Host Details, and I'll check this storage. Oh great, it's still connected and still showing those two logical unit number IDs 0 and 1. If you recall, these two were two separate disks, 3 GB disks, which I created. Right, minimize this, or no need to minimize this, just close this. Fine, let's create VM1, and another interesting thing is open this web browser, and I will show you that storage /linux vm.ks is a kickstart file which I've created already. Linux vm.ks. This is what I'm going to use for my VM installation to keep it simple. You see, I'm going to create 384 kilo swap file, swap disk, partition, not disk, and the rest of the 3 GB disk would go to this partition root. And I'm just installing core packages, and I'll just disable all these stupid services. Not stupid, but okay, they're not required at the moment in this test. Okay, minimize this. And let's go on. Excuse me for my throat, it's still bad. Okay. Okay. New what? New, of course, virtual machine, VM1. Let's call it VM1, and para virtual. Next, because I just want to keep it very lightweighted. You can also create fully virtualized, of course, it doesn't matter. Network install tree, yes. Linux and Fedora 5, Red Hat 5. Install media is going to be, oh come on, http://storage/sent OS-5.4-x86_64 is the install path, and kickstart media, come on, show it, is kickstart URL. Kickstart URL is here. No, not here, sorry, is here. Fine, press forward. Block device. Now what is the name of our block device? We discussed this in the previous video section of the same topic. The device path is going to be obtained from here. Click this Xen host 1, which is showing as localhost here. Edit host details, storage, and select the disk which you want to use. I want to use this disk, so I'll copy volume path by right clicking it, and then minimize and paste here. Great. Press forward. Press OK. Here you can select virtual network, which would be 192.168.122. whatever inside physical host number 1. We don't need this. So what I'm trying to say is, this VM1, once it will be created, it would be connected to a network local to this domain 0 here, local to it. That means we cannot ping it from outside, or we cannot simply access that from outside. Why I say that? I say that because this is this is the terminal from my desktop, Fedora desktop. It has the storage here. Now I don't know the IP of my VM right now, so I cannot ping anything right now. Okay. If it would be on a private network local to any Xen host, I can still not ping it because I am on the physical LAN. Okay, my IP is 1.100. I can never ping that machine inside unless I do some wizardry. But that's off the topic. So it's perfectly, my point is perfectly alright to have virtual network assigned to your VM. However, most of the time you would be using shared physical device because you want this VM to be accessible from outside. Means outside the Xen host, be connected to the same physical LAN which is connecting the other machines. So I would select shared physical device for now, which would be Xen bridge. Press forward. I'm going to assign it 512 MB of RAM and 2 CPUs. I'm very fond of 2 CPUs, I don't know why. Anyway, press forward and this should be all. Press finish. Domains being created. I see some activity. Full screen. Yes, I see activity on my storage. Its hard drive light is blinking a couple of times. Oops, what's wrong with it? http://storage.example.com. I did not find it. Why? Let's try the IP. I wonder why it's not recognizing this. Oh, it's working. I wonder why it did not work. Anyway, we will check that later. Do full screen so we could see. What happened? Install exited abnormally. Come on, not so many problems. Okay, we'll shut it down forcefully. Yes. Close this. VM1. Let's see its config files. etc xen list. This is the latest file created. VM1. Okay, so disk is allotted properly. Service iSCSI, what's the status? It's working. I don't need to restart it. This should have worked. And it will not start again, probably. Let's see it. What is this? Oh, I already installed it. I have to, clear the partition first, or the disk. Okay, so what I'll do is file, full screen. I'll just shut it down forcefully. And I think I showed you, I'll just close this window. I think I showed you earlier that, let's delete this file as well. I showed you earlier that, how can you overwrite a partition or a disk and, make it corrupt, kind of. So Zenhost 1, let's see fdisk minus L. What this fdisk minus L is showing is that my local disk 80 GB, so I'll ignore this. SDB is my 3 GB disk from first logical unit number of first target, and then this is the second target. So I'm going to overwrite this one. I'm just going to fill in, at least about 1 MB is enough, but I'll just overwrite 10 MB of starting blocks with something like zeros. The process is going to be disk duplicate if is equal to /dev/0, and output file is equal to /dev/stb stb1. stb1 is the partition created inside it. Or this is one method. Block size is equal to 1024 and count is equal to 10,000. Okay, so 10 MB is written. These IPs are correct. Block device. Okay, forward physical device. Okay, so this is where the installation should start. Okay, formatting the root file system. Great. That means it's able to access the storage. Okay, started the install process. Great. I'd better off work with command line interface. It's very easy to create any virtual machine from command line as well. However, as I just explained, that I wanted to keep these videos simple to, at least in the first field, you should find it very simple to understand and work with. We will touch all the command line interface and all the nice details in the later videos. Okay, it's rebooting. Press enter, and where is that? This one. Okay, fine. Let's see if it reboots or does it need an iSCSI restart again, which should not happen. I'm still using Xen 3.0, which is quite old now because Xen 4 is already out. So let's try starting it. Try full screen, starting. Great, lovely. I don't need to restart iSCSI service again. Fine, so this machine is starting, and I will now show you how we would migrate it. Alright, so it has picked up some funny name from my DSL router, which is the DHCP server as well, but I'm interested in its IP right now. It's 1.11. Okay, so I would minimize or kind of put it on a side. I would open this, bring up this window from my laptop. I would ping 192.168.1.11. This is my this is my VM virtual machine which I just installed. This one, right? Fine. I'll close its window because I don't need it. Just remember that it's already logged in here. Okay. I'll close the window right as it is. And now I'll connect to Xen host 2. Connect it. Remember that we set certain configurations. I'll just show you again that in Xen config SXP there are certain parameters which you should enable, such as XenD relocation server. Yes, there are 4 items. XenD relocation port is this one. XenD relocation address is global, and XenD relocation host allow all. Fine, it's already set. We set that in earlier segment of the same video yesterday, and we restarted the service. In fact, we restarted the whole machines, so that's already taken care of. Now the status is that my VM is running here on Xen host 1. It's not running on Xen host 2. You see here, there is no VM running here. If you want to confirm, you can do a virtual shell list and it will show you that on Xen host 1 you are seeing this VM here. Whereas if I go to the second host, you've already seen it on the GUI, but I just want to show you on the command line that you do a virtual shell list, it's not here. Even minus minus all will show you that it's not here. Now coming back to Xen host 1, it's not that easy from this interface to just right click and select migrate to this machine because its config file needs to exist on the other host. With that I mean that you would secure copy etc Xen, because definitely the other machine needs a config file to start a machine. How would it know that which machine to start? So secure copy etc zen vm1 to root at zenhost2 :/etc/zen. Enter. Since SSH equivalence is already established, it did not ask for password, and the file is copied. As soon as it is copied, it would show up here. This is zenhost2. Remember, this is zenhost2, and this is VM1 showing stopped here, and it's showing in its interface VM1 running here on zenhost1. Or let's show it to you from here. This was zenhost1, right? We installed this VM1 here, and zenhost2 was showing only one domain, but now it's showing VM1 as well, but it stopped. See, if I do this virtual shell list on zenhost1, it will still show me this virtual machine 1 idle doing nothing. I go to second screen, I open the command interface where you saw only one domain running, even by using --all. Now you would see one domain running and one domain shut off. The idea is, when a domain is migrated live, its config file should be present over there, then its memory state is copied to the other side and started, because the disk is shared. It's the same. So once again, I'll show you that my laptop is still able to ping 1.11. Now I'll initiate a migrate. Right click, migrate to zenhost2. As soon as I migrate, you see that my machine is still running. Okay, press yes, and you get this message, and you check this. Where is that? Immediately from 0. some millisecond, the time has increased to 42, 80, 200, but still pinging. No ping outs here, no timeouts here, right? No timeouts. And I minimize this. You open this Virtual Machine Manager. It's busy, so that's why you can't see its status. So I'll rely on my ping. As soon as I see the ping times back to normal 0. something, I would know that machine is migrated to the other side. This happens for about, okay, it's done. Minimize this, and you would see status here. Come on, update. Are you okay? Updated. See, this is zenhost1. This machine was running here before. It's shut off here, and this machine is now running on zenhost2. Okay, this is zenhost1 in the background. You see this command interface? You type this command again, that VM1 is gone from here. You do --all, it will show you shut off. Before it was running. Idle also means running. It's funny. Okay, and now you go to your second machine. See, it's running here. This was showing you shut off before, now it will show you idle. Lovely, it's working. Now how to check its screen? Very simple. You just double click this one. This is zenhost2. You can double click here. See, I did not do anything and it's still logged on. And if I do an uptime, it will still show me that, you know, come on, that it's up for 7 minutes, whereas we migrated just a minute ago. So this is a proof that your machine will remain live and it will remain accessible. Just the memory state will be transferred from one machine to the other, right? So one last time, I'm also going to show you from the command line. Now this machine is running on zenhost 2 and zenhost 1 doesn't have it. Means it has it, but it's stopped here. So I'll show you how to do it through command line. Very easy. Go to XenHost 2 where you see this running. Right, we do migrate live. Okay, domain. What's the domain ID? Okay, so cancel that. Control C. Do a virtual shell. You can even do XM list and do a virtual shell list. Both will give you the same information almost. We are interested in the domain ID of this VM1. Its ID is 1. Same information is here. Whereas XM displays extra information that you know how much CPU time was taken, how much RAM it has. Fine, you do virtual shell -- live, and the ID of the domain is 1, domain 1, and destination URI, connect URL of the destination host. So it's going to be Xen plus SSH, or can I just mention XenHost 2? Let's see. No, virtual shell minus, oh, migrate. I forgot the word migrate. Okay, so Xen plus SSH / XenHost 2. Oh, no. XenHost 1, because we are already on XenHost 2. We want to migrate it to XenHost 1. Okay, press enter. And since SSH equivalence is started already, is already set up, so you would see this busy and see it. This thing will change. This is XenHost VM1 running on XenHost 2, and on XenHost 1 it shows as stopped. Soon it will show as started, and I'll just display this ping. It's still pinging, but notice that the time changed from 0.2 millisecond to 28 and 200 and something. As soon as it the number comes down again, I would know that the domain is transferred. So I'll minimize this. I'll show you here what happens here, right in front of your eyes here. So virtual shell migrate is also complete here in the command prompt at the bottom of the screen. And as soon as it completed, you see this one got shut down and this one started running here on XenHost 1. So to do it from the command line, you have to provide this URI or connect a string like this one. Let's go to XenHost 1 where this machine is running now. So I'll double click this and you have this already logged on, and if you do uptime, it should still show 13 minutes. See, 13 minutes at the bottom. So the state of the machine remained online. It never got disturbed. So it's an excellent way to migrate machines, you know, from one physical host to another. Right, so let's conclude this. Let's minimize or close this window and shut down this machine as well. Right, so this is what I wanted to show you, how a Xen machine is migrated from one physical host to the other, and you saw that how many problems we encountered, and 50% of the problems were because of Virtual Manager not supporting the operations, because it's an old version and I couldn't find an updated version in CentOS 5.4, and 25% of problems were my negligence, and rest of the 25% problems were unknown, like iSCSI restart, and you know, ideally when you should install your open filer, let me show it to you here. When you install it, you should update it. There's a tab here, something maybe in the system, that you should update its system update, yeah, something like this. The system update needs to run in separate window, so click here. So this will launch system update. So the rule of thumb for OpenFiler is that you should keep updating it. Means it needs certain cycles of update. You update it until there are no more updates available. So to stay away from all the bugs or all the possible problems which you can encounter. So this will take certain time, so I'll just ignore this and minimize this for now. But that's how it works. In accounts you can configure various things, and admin password you can change from here. Type current password, new password, etc. Anyway, OpenFiler, just minimize that. So our virtual machine is shut down. Now it's up to me. I can start it anywhere. Okay, let's start it here. Running. But I cannot see its console from here because XEN host 2. So I would need to go on XEN host 2. It's working here, booting up. Good, alhamdulillah. That means thanks God. So I conclude this video here. The next series of videos would still be on XEN, covering command line and some system troubleshooting, like if VM has crashed, what to do, and we'll be covering log files as well in detail. In case of any problem, where to look for errors and how to look for errors, how to solve them, etc. All these things would be coming up very soon. But anyway, thank you for bearing with me for till now, and I hope to continue providing you with the with these CBTs in future as well.